All right, I've got 5:30. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, moving on here, we'll move on to item number 3 on the agenda, consideration and approval of the agenda.
We want to move 7.2 to after 9.1. 7.2, what is that? Not sure if that's the discussion that when present is present for or not.
Well, a chunk of it by me will be.
No, I mean, as far as
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. We could
Yeah.
also,
If we move it and then we get through what we get through.
we'd have some time to actually not be under the time.
all right, any other additions or corrections? Hearing none, would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda with moving of 7.2 below 9.1?
So moved.
Motion by Gina. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Gina, second by Dan. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, next we'll move on to public forum. This is an opportunity for citizens to present items to the council that are not on the agenda. Each presentation is limited to 3 minutes with a maximum of 15 minutes set aside. If your item needs follow-up, staff will arrange time for that. If you'd like to step forward to public forum, please make your way to the podium, state your name and address, and council will hear your
Hey guys, how we doing?
Nope.
Andrew Wetherill, 14068 Canyon Way. If there's an item on the agenda, it's not allowed to be brought up in public forum. Is that correct?
Correct.
So the one thing I had to ask is I watched the last meeting online because I was out of town, and there was one comment that kind of struck me a little funny. As council members, who do you represent? Do you represent the citizens of Pine City?
Correct.
The citizens.
Everybody.
Okay. So when you said expedite this hearing about the vacation, that's for one person to do something. When you have 150 names on a petition so far, and you've got state bosses that are being shut down by the time clock who came here to talk to you, it just seems a little skewed to me. If you're representing one person to expedite and let's go, versus you've got many citizens and extremely important scientists trying to talk to you about it and you just want to expedite it, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't seem like you're representing the actual populace. You're just looking to have something built by one person. David. I don't get responses up here. I just talk.
Yeah, we're not really.
We're not allowed to talk. All right.
Quorum.
That's all I wanted to say. It just seemed a little funny that we're going to expedite something when
Oh, you forgot to state your name and address.
I did.
Oh, you did?
You
Okay.
I thought
Global heritage is at stake, and you've got a lot of people that are interested in it. I don't think it should be expedited. It should be the opposite. Thank you.
This is still public forum. If someone would like to step forward and speak for public forum, please make your way to the podium, state your name and address. I will ask again if anybody would like to step forward for public forum. I'll ask for a third and final time if anybody would like to step forward for public forum. Right, we will move on to item number 5, the sheriff's report.
Deputy McGregor at the Sheriff's Office. My partner, Deputy Collins, is busy, so he had me step in for him. I don't believe there's anything much to report. Traffic stops have been steady. Parks have nothing crazy going on in the parks, so everything's been pretty steady as far as we know. So.
Thank you. Any questions from council for our deputy while we have? Thank you so much.
Thanks for stopping.
All right, next up, we will move on to item number 6, the consent items. Let's make a motion to approve the consent items.
I just wanted to mention real quick, there's 2 liquor store resignations on here, and I did have a question that was what did I say? Oh, liquor committee, I'm sorry, committee. And I just wanted to say that this was something that they'd already talked with Laura about back in September and October. So this was something already in the works with their resolutions.
That being said, would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent items?
So moved.
Motion by Dave. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Kyle. Any further discussion?
Just like to say thank you to Mrs. Sauer and Mr. Olson for your service on the committees and to the citizens of Pine City. Good luck in the future.
Yeah. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent items. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, next we move on to old business. Item number 7.1, request for council action trails.
Early, towards the end of last year, Jim Sloan had talked to council regarding the trail being connected. And this is just a request for council action. You can see on the map that we're at requesting that staff can just investigate how that would look. We have both the college interested as well as the county, and the county has really great grant opportunities should the land be found. So there is a long-term plan within our comp plan to connect these trails. So we're just looking for council's permission to just look into this and investigate, and what we find we'll bring back to council.
Would that be turned over to Park and Rec then, or who's gonna do the investigating? You gonna take a committee or what?
I thought I would kind of look
Well,
into
and
what would
that's
be.
fine, I guess it was one.
Yeah, I would probably take the lead, and maybe if Rock wants to help too, but
Can I clear that we've already approved this potential map, correct?
Right.
This
Yes.
was already
Oh, we did, yeah.
official. And I know opportunities have passed us by in the past because we didn't have enough long-range planning in place. They don't like, people that give grants don't always want you to ask for money and then decide what you're gonna do with it. They like to see that you have this plan, so I think that's good news that we have partners now and that we have this long-term plan.
What land is left to be acquired?
that's what we'd like to find out.
Cause I thought the connection was gonna be forth to the sidewalk.
Well, it's not letting
That's
me
already
print
there.
this map now.
And then what we're putting in this spring to connect that, is that not what's on the map? I had a hard time looking at the map because
Oh.
it doesn't
So-
say what the purple or the green or the red is.
Ultimately, what we're looking at connecting is the trail behind the high school where it ends in a turnaround with softball fields through Halverstead property, which is a landlocked piece of property, the trailer court, Pine Tech, and then along Railroad Avenue to Robinson Park.
Okay.
So multiple landowners, we need to provide some easement purchase of the land for the trail through those properties. Pine Tech is fully on board, wants to promote this as much as possible for students as well as so on. Railroad is an issue in terms of working through leases or whatever. We've got issues with the Halverstead property. Again, they would like access to the property that does not.
Further discussion from council, or would someone like to make a motion to approve or otherwise?
So I'm looking forward to what you guys come up with, so I'm gonna make the motion that allows staff to move forward with this.
I'll second Kyle's motion.
Got a motion by Kyle and a second by Gina. Any further discussion? None. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, next we will move on to 7.3, the personnel policy.
So at a previous council member, this portion was asked to be reworded. So we did some work on this and brought it back for council to see if they like this version or any more tweaking would,
I think you covered all the bases, so I might make the motion that we approve 6.04.
thank you.
All right, I've got a motion from Kyle. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
And a second by Dave. Any further discussion? Hearing none, does this need to be roll call or can this be?
Personal policy, no, you can just do it.
Uh, All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, next we'll move on to new business, item number 8.1, resolution 2026-15, accepting a donation from Pine City Smoke Eaters.
So Mayor, as a officer of the smoke eaters, I'm gonna abstain from discussion and vote.
So this resolutions, including what the smoke eaters have, donated to the city. One is en route still, but it's included in this resolution. So I'm looking for council's approval of these donations from the Pine City Smoke Eaters.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-15 with a big thank you.
Motion from Dan. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Dave. Any further discussion? Hearing none, says resolution, so we'll proceed with the roll call vote. Dave, will start with you.
Yes.
Gina?
Yes.
Dan?
Aye.
And I will also vote yes. That motion carries.
Thank you.
You,
No, thank you.
all right, next on to 8.2, request for council action, public works dump truck with snowplow purchase.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So, we've talked about this before. I'm trying to do a little house cleaning, so I'd like to move forward on ordering this truck. As you can see in the motion or the staff recommendation, the truck would come from a state bid contract from Dave Severson's. The equipment would come from a contract from Towmaster, a state bid, in the total of $282,340. And Nicole has done her due diligence on the financing end of it. We'd like to finance it out 5 years. It is budgeted for this year and will be in the future.
Questions, comments, concerns from council?
Well, Maury, I'll start off. I thought about this and I read it and I read it and I read it, and I've come from a little different background. I was a trucker for many years too, along with feed and fertilizer plant manager for the Pine City Co-op for many years. And my management style was basically, it was someone was in charge, and we replaced that person. We let the new person do the purchasing. So I know that's what you're trying to do, is tie up loose ends. I'd like to see the new person, and I don't think it's going to make a whole lot of difference. And I also purchased the truck. I also think that, our president is going to appoint a new Fed chairman. I think the interest rates are going to drop. I think he's going to make them drop. So I think we can wait. I don't think we aren't going to get it before the winter's done. So I guess I'm against it, and I'll make the motion. I don't know if I'll get a second, but I'll make the motion that we just wait until the new public works director is in place.
All right, I've got a motion from Dave to table until the new public works director is in place. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that, Dave. It makes sense to me as well.
I've got a motion from Dave and a second to table this until the new public works director is in place. All those in favor of tabling, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'm presuming that the decision is gonna be the same on the next one, so
What's that?
on the SCADA upgrade.
No, I wouldn't say that was. That's totally different. We talked a lot more about that, and that's a matter of necessity, and that needs to be in place when he gets here. The truck doesn't. So no, I wouldn't be opposed to that for that reason.
Do you want to give us some information on it?
Sure, I mean, this is kind of been in the works for a while.
I know.
We budgeted this year, to get it replaced. It's running on Windows 7. So
That's,
we've kind of been pushing it out. Needs to be done. So all the equipment, the install, everything involved. So by Total Control, which does all their control work.
I'll make the motion that we approve the SCADA upgrade.
And a motion from Kyle,
I'll second that.
second from Dave. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maury.
Thank you, Maureen.
All right, next we'll move on to planning. Item number 9.1, First Street vacation.
At the previous council meeting, council directed staff to reach out for legal review on this. And we did get legal review from the city attorney, and he attached a memo as well as the resolution, and you've had it to look over. So tonight we're looking for decision from council.
Marcy, council, questions, comments, concerns?
I think we did go through the whole checklist. I don't think we did it expedited at all. We asked the questions and we sent it out to the attorney. So looks like everything was checked off by your attorney and all the rest of the process moved along the way it was supposed to. So I will make a motion that we approve resolution 2025-39.
I've got a motion from Kyle to approve 2025-39. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
I have a question from the director of the state pertaining to the legal review. Would somebody like to read this? Or should I?
I mean,
I don't,
hold on, because council can do some discussion now, and then it will be your
we'd open it up.
discussion. I agree that the lawyer did due diligence and that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. I am not opposed to the development. I just feel like I need to know about the street vacation. The street vacation without planning or the rest of the contract just seems like kind of too much to give right away. So I would feel better if we could negotiate the project alongside with the street vacation so that the project could move forward. But right now we're just vacating the street and that's done. And then we're going to start with the rest. And I believe that we were elected to kind of vote on processes. And I feel like when it came to us in December, it was like, here, you do this and you have to figure out how to say no. I would like to discuss the historical and the environmental concerns and the infrastructure concerns along with discussing the vacation. So I would feel better if it was in tandem with something. But that's just and I love the idea. I love the whole project. Just, I don't want to set precedents, and it's just a lot of things for me as a counselor that I just want to consider.
Yeah, I guess the major concern that I have is I wish we were putting some sort of stipulations as far as if the PUD isn't in place or if something isn't in place in 12, 16, 24 months, that the street would revert back to the city.
Then let's add that.
And
We
then,
can put
yeah,
that
the
in
city attorney said you could add stipulations like that.
I would like to at least see something like that. But that would take some Kyle to amend his motion at this point.
And I just feel like we need to have some protection. 148 years of tax paying for that street, to just vacate it seems just risky to me.
But in the process of the development, this is what has to happen first before anything else can go forward. Can't start the PUD, can't do any of that until the street vacation. It's a technicality. And my understanding, and the people that I've discussed this with at length, is if there is any environmental or historical or any of those types of things that come up, those will be handled during the permitting and and that process. It's not anything that we can impact. I mean, right now, currently, it's zoned for it, which it's prescribed by law. And the rest of these things for me, like, will come as part of the process. Application has to happen before any of the rest of that can go.
So are you saying that we can't add stipulations?
No, we can add stipulations, but I'm just saying,
So
like,
what's-
the environmental or historical concerns, that's nothing that we have any say in. We have, that comes with the rest of development, with through zoning, through permitting. If any of that comes along, that'll be part of that, and that's when the development could or could not face those things. But
So,
being as it's private property and it's zoned for it, we don't really have the ability to tell somebody what they can or can't do with their land.
so is it true once we vacate the street, it becomes private property? That's,
Except for the easement.
okay, so it becomes private property. So then something comes up on the property and then if the street's already vacated and it's somebody's private property. That's the part that I think the precedence to set that would be dangerous.
Have we put in previous street vacations? We haven't put any stipulations.
How many street vacation?
I'm only aware of one,
Maplewood Lane
and it, in the fire hall.
and the fire hall, First Street.
You know, even,
I have to defer to our mayor and see if there's
State statute from a state employee.
Yeah, please bring it forward.
okay. You can you read?
All right.
Yeah.
So we just found about this meeting a couple hours ago, and I called Jen Rankin, the director of the state, and she wants to know, have the impacts to cultural resources and historic properties been properly evaluated for this proposal? We said we have the legal review completed and all the T's and I's are dealt with. And has this legal review considered Minnesota State Statute Chapter 138 for the protection of our historic and archaeological resources? And specifically under Chapter 138, Minnesota Field Archaeology Act 138.31-138.42, and the Minnesota Historic Sites Act 138.661-138.669. And if the review, which was completed, what were the findings for the review pertaining to this?
So that state statute was specifically addressed with the attorney, so yes, and he found no conflict with that. Because this, I think the development part is separate from the street vacation.
Yeah.
They're just not the same issue, so that has absolutely nothing to do with the current request on the agenda.
By approving, if it was approved, that does trigger archaeological review and some more hoops to jump through. I think putting the cart in front of the horse here, saying, yeah, let's empty the street and then plan, and then what, it's already swaying in one direction, that seems skewed. Thank you guys for letting me get up out of turn.
Yes, thank you. And 138.51 reads, it is in the public interest to provide for the preservation of historic sites, buildings, structures, and antiquities of state and national significance for the inspiration, use, and benefit of the people of the state. That was in 1965, and it's been repealed multiple times after that. And while I agree with preserving history, the city had a chance to buy this lot and preserve it, and they chose not to. And someone else bought it, and it's now private property. Here we are.
Yes, and I'll just repeat what I said earlier. The only thing that, the biggest thing that I think concerns me the most is I just wish that we had a fallback. That just says if nothing is done with this in X number of time, that reverts back to the city, so it doesn't end up like some of the other last project with snow plowing that we dealt with last year, where it wasn't a city street, but we were plowing it, but we weren't supposed to be plowing it, and things like that. I just want to make sure that we're dotting our i's and crossing our t's, I guess. But that's,
And for the other street vacancies, was that stipulation included with those, or are we just determining that this?
I don't believe there were any stipulations added before.
So does that present a conflict now? If we put that stipulation in place? The other question I have is that I don't think that timeline that you were looking for is gonna stay on track. So if you put it at a year, are you gonna fall into situations where you can't develop in that time because you're under constraints? If you put it at 24 months, there could be changes in government. It could just keep extending out, and then all of a sudden it goes back after time and effort put in. We haven't done it in the past. I don't really like putting it on this stipulation. It feels one-sided. So I'm not gonna amend my motion.
All right, at this point, any further discussion from council?
I just wish that, we could have figured out, I wish we weren't here right now. I wish we could have figured out a different way.
All right, as this is a resolution, we'll proceed with the roll call vote. I've got a motion from Kyle and a second from Dave to accept resolution 2025-39 as written. Kyle, I'll start with you.
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Gina?
No,
Dan?
Aye.
And I will also vote yes, that motion carries. All right. Next, we will move on to item number 7.2, the 2026 proposed fee schedule.
All right, council's had the fee schedule to review. This has also been to all department heads and have made their notes. So now we're looking to see if council had any more concerns about it or questions for department heads regarding this, or
Well, who wants to start? I guess
I'll start. I know at ordinance committee last year, we spent the better part of 7 months going through the fee schedule and trying to come up with ways to be more user friendly, ways that we thought we could make things more affordable and more approachable for citizens. And then it was sent to department heads and completely redone. So I struggle with it because I feel like a lot of this is we're just raising fees to raise revenue. And
well, can I comment on one? Because one thing ordinance did change was
as a suggestion,
was for the water sewer. It was for the shutoffs. So the reconnection fee, which I think was 50, was changed to like almost like a tier.
yeah, the first one
And
was,
I have to say, it did not go well over this last year. There's no real, I mean, I understand that you don't, if someone's behind on their bill, the last thing you want to do is kick them when they're down. However, we've seen more shutoffs because there's not a deterrent, because they know there's no fee to connection. So in 1 month, the city did lose, I think it was $800 in reconnection fees because there's no deterrent
but we
to,
never changed there should have been a fee charge because it was never adopted.
We adopted it in
yeah.
July, sometime middle of summer, I think is when we finally adopted the fee schedule last year.
Oh, I didn't see that on
Yeah.
the acceptance date.
started in January. And
Might have even been August, it might have even been fair time, but that's a whole month.
Of 25 or 20, 25?
25.
Would have been 25.
I thought we agreed on the water and sewer until we got the complete reports back from Myers.
Yeah, those rates, yeah, those did
That,
change.
okay, so that
This
shouldn't have
was
changed.
specifically like the turn on to reconnection fee if you got shut off.
reconnection.
I've got issue with a bunch of the building stuff, and I just think, and I've expressed this before. You know, we charge $125 for a furnace or a water heater. Cambridge is right now at their year is $64. I contacted them a long time ago, several months ago, and I said, "Are you doing okay at that?" And they were still the same price. Are you doing okay at that? Yes, because most of the time we just take a picture. We don't even require a on-site inspection. And I think, you know, $125, you know, water heaters aren't very cheap now. I've bought a few in the last few years, and you know, right now to get a good one, power vent, you're paying $1,200 to $1,500. Then you tack another $125 on that. We're seeing I see a lot of water heaters going, and I know darn well they aren't pulling permits. A lot of the contractors do just because they don't want to get caught. But I bet you if we looked at how many permits are pulled and how they've gone over the years, I'll bet the rate is down. And they have about an 8-year, 10-year life expectancy because they're making junk down there, and none of it's any good. And I've asked the gas guys, I said, which one should I buy? And they said, doesn't matter, they're all junk. So, you know, I think we're just encouraging non-compliance, and that's not just water heaters, that's furnaces, that's air conditioners, you know, it's a lot of stuff. The building fees themselves to do a building, we're higher than Cambridge. Now, I'm not using Cambridge and thinking that we have to be cheaper than Cambridge, but we shouldn't be higher in Cambridge. I think
We don't set these, right? These are.
that's from,
Yeah, these are not set through the.
these
state.
are Rum River. And my whole point when I get done talking about this is, I don't know. Maybe it's time to call for an RFP for building official, because I think we've gotten to that point. I don't think we're as big as the metro towns that our building official thinks we are. So I'd like to see some support on that. I'm willing to make a motion. Somebody else second it. If they don't, I guess that's fine. But
Hold
when
on.
we get done, we'll wait till we get done
Okay,
discussing.
okay.
I'm not doing it right now, but I'm ready to make one because I'm about fed up with these high rates, and all we're doing is getting non-compliance, and we know that we're trying to get a little more cooperation out of these people, but I'm not 100% convinced that we're getting it.
The fees that we collect, that goes to paying the inspector, and does the city get any portion of it?
We used to get 10%, now we get 20%.
So if we wanted to make it cheaper, can we strike what the city takes for the 20%?
Oh, like cut our percentage to, I see what you're saying.
Still
I mean,
not
I
gonna
would
bring it
think we
down-
could.
Still not gonna bring it down
Cause
close to it.
the other question is if you bring in a different inspector, you make those fees cheaper, the taxpayers are still offsetting the cost of that inspector. And the people that are doing the improvements are the ones that can afford it, and not everybody that can afford those improvements are now having to pay for the people that can make those massive additions to their buildings.
Well, it's not just massive additions, Kyle. It's everything right down to a fence, right down to pouring concrete, right down to everything. They've got it up so that we are the highest around the area, and I think it's ridiculous. I really do.
But that is a personal improvement to their property, not to the city as a whole.
Well, I know, but you know, does it make any sense to I mean, if we had our own person on board, and we've had our own person on board before, our fees were always significant enough to cover our costs. And I think with the construction that we've had in the last few years, I think this is a pretty good moneymaker for our inspection firm. You know,
Though I love where we're headed here, I think we should kind of try to keep this formula one.
okay. Well, I just think that I think the fees are too high, and I don't like.
I'm looking at a couple too that I don't,
What page?
I'm on general licenses and permits, 8
Good.
of the fee schedule, page 91 of the agenda. Like the al fresco license, for instance.
Yeah.
The renewal going from $10. Oh wait, no,
No, it just went to 120.
just went to 100. New one's 125 and a renewal is $100. Is
Right.
there a reason why that went up so much?
I had the same question because if we are charging just for what it costs the city and not making money on it, I don't know why a renewal would be $100.
Originally, there's a map and
Mhm.
some work that's put into it,
Mhm.
but
benefit the city, and we have to put a lot of time into it. Adam has to go check it out, Tom has to go check it out. It's not just a simple process. Like, there's a lot that
every
goes
year
into
we re-inspect.
Well, because they set out their board boundaries and they have to make sure it's correct and.
I think it's high, and I know that both Tom and Adam haven't really been too positive towards the al fresco dining. So I was just wondering what the rationale was behind the increase in the fee. The reason that I am agreeing with Dan on this is I think the al fresco is a benefit to the city. It makes our city look vibrant. It draws people in, and the tax revenue alone probably makes the $100. But I don't believe we should put it on the business owners.
I think the previous was 10 or 20. So
And, maybe somewhere between
Yeah,
10 or 20 and 125.
And same with mobile food units for food trucks and stuff too. It used to be $20. Now it's $25 a day, $100 a month, or $250 a year a season. Yeah.
So this brings it up to what other cities do. I checked out, I think, 20 other cities and what they charge for it. We are the only ones that do this 21 day that you have to call and confirm what days you are. This would give them a permit for the entire year, no matter how many days. They could go anywhere they want.
because
Any
what we do find
location.
is more who don't do it because of how strange our system is with which dates are you going to be here versus just getting a permit to be here. So,
And how is this enforced or inspected?
what we see around town.
That's it. There's no requirement, like if you're gonna sell food in a food truck, you have to notify the city, and these are spots where it's okay to sell food in a
Those
food
that
truck.
know, yes.
On the, I have updated the permit application recently where there's now a permission like from the owner that they have to turn into the city. So like if they're gonna be in a parking lot, they need to have that owner of the parking lot sign it and turn it in before they can operate there.
How does that work for like the county there? Are they their own separate entity or?
They're their own city.
Duh,
It's just ask them.
Did have a question on 11 regarding village rates.
Page 11.
Yeah, so there's the sewer rate per gallon, which is $9.80 per 1,000 gallons. I'm guessing that's in town.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the sewer rates for out of town.
Yeah.
And I think this is based off of an old agreement
Correct.
that doesn't have a sunset clause.
It
Based off
doesn't have a what clause?
sunset clause
Oh.
review. And that's the problem that I have a hard time with is when this was put in place, I think it was put in with the intention that they didn't want all that waste going into the lake. There was a lot of cabin properties. Since then it's changed. I really have a hard time with that contract. I think it's something that we need to have legally reviewed. Is it fair to have all that capacity coming into our system when we have to pay for all the upgrades and infrastructure? It seems like our rates keep going up and their rates stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been that way for a long time. And we're looking at some pretty significant costs on the horizon. And I think that would be one portion that I think would be a good idea for an attorney to review and see how we can renegotiate that contract, because we need to be reviewing that every X amount of years and adjusting the rates appropriately. Because there is a value in not having a mound system in your front yard or around the lake. And it's not fair to put that onto Pine City taxpayers.
Weren't we gonna do that when we?
Well,
got the
actually, we
city
had
done?
our Ellers meeting today.
Yeah, I was
that
gonna
we
say,
put
I
on
thought
the
we were gonna
sewer
do
side.
that.
And yeah, and so they have calculated rates for that, and they've really gone over the agreements as well. So there is a clause in there that states that we are able to go back once a year and attach like a bill, like an invoice them for cost of operation on top of but Ellers has also recalculated the rates, which is going to align them with the city residents.
So are the rates that are in here right now based off of Millers?
No, nothing on here, water sewer is corrected
haven't
at
done
all
it
because we don't have that yet.
So if we're looking at approving this, it's a portion that I don't want to have to approve.
Yeah, so we could even, if we, because Ellers is speaking at the next meeting, and if you want to send or discuss other fees you have concerns with, I think approving this is premature until Ellers speaks.
because it's on here, we have some time, could we maybe just start and go through it systematically and just keep track of what we discussed and
Except
what
for the
needs
water.
further
sewer. Mhm.
discussion, like start with our
Cemetery?
cemeteries. Maybe Marcy, you could just lead us
Yeah.
through that by topic.
Sure. Okay, and cemeteries is first. Okay, so I was told this was to be actual cost. So the city would not be making money on these these fee changes. So that was just a cost to the city and they're putting it right over to the actual fee.
But there again, how in a year does digging a burial spot go up $50? It's the same machine, it's the same dirt, it's,
They actually tried to up this fee last year and it was not approved. So
Well, it was, well, when Mr. Hildebrand was administrator, they had it up to around $1,000 and I said, we can't handle that.
No.
That's really taken too much of a jump. So then we dialed it back down and of course it never passed, so nothing happened. So there's been about almost 3 years, I think, since we've raised any of these rates,
so we just said we approved a fee schedule last year with
but
rates.
I don't think any of this was on there. I don't think there was any raises in this.
So do we still sub out the grave digging? Does anyone here in the room know? Yeah,
Yes.
we still sub it out, so that we
just
get a bill for $675.
Don't we do some of it ourselves?
Cremation. rates.
Cremation.
So
So that costs us $415.
I do understand that we use the same equipment, but in the last year, have wages or health insurance gone up at all that might impact the cost of that?
not until this insurance increase was pretty flat last year. This year's different.
Right. And if we're contracting it out, have their rates gone up? at all?
Oh, boy. Yeah, they have.
Can I ask a strange question? Why is an infant grave $250, but a cremation grave is $415? When it seems as though an infant casket would be larger than a cremation urn. Just in my,
It's just,
Doesn't a cremation
really
grave have up to 6 urns that can go into it?
that I'm not
I
sure.
thought it was 2.
I thought they upped it so it could be more.
So it's like a larger vault that actually goes in. I also personally have a hard time with $250 for an infant grave.
Yeah.
That's
But
just me.
infant grave opening is the same as the cremation. You're looking at like the infant lot.
Oh, I'm looking at the lot. I see.
We use the same contractor to open and close the graves and get a bill.
They went out for bids last year for this year. So I believe there's 2 or 3 people they use services for. So they have set rates for this and
That's what they are.
yeah, what I was told is there's no profit to the city with what we're charging.
No. The bucket they have is the same size as Paul. Takes extra money. I mean, they have to exchange their buckets and stuff. They got a little extra work too.
At least I know on the Catholic side, they gotta dive in there by hand, because some of them are a little bit.
Not where they're supposed to be.
Not where they're supposed to be.
Just my opinion, but again, I would say that we need a mini excavator or something. We be doing these ourselves. There's
I
no,
agree.
it's insane, it's insanity money. Like it's one of the worst times that somebody has to deal with. Then they have to come up.
I mean, would this be something that we share with the fire department? Because I know you would use it as well. Yeah, we should think about that this summer.
I have another question too. Do we currently still have a cemetery committee or whatever we had?
Not that I'm aware of.
Brian, did we used to have a cemetery committee? Okay. It was Public Works and someone from the funeral home. That probably died with COVID.
I think they're all dead.
Did she say died?
He said that
They're all
probably
in
died
the
with COVID. Cemetery committee.
So,
But that would also, I mean, and they could probably meet annually or biannually, but they could help us understand some of this.
Especially with wanting to get it online. So you could look this history of our cemeteries up on our website. That would be.
Also,
I don't know if that's the time for discussing this, but
I also wonder how not that they have to align anywhere near the same, but I also wonder how do these rates, the cemetery rates, compare to like the Catholic cemetery? Are they pretty on par, or?
I do not know.
so I guess what we're hearing is we want some time to
Okay, because I think
Just
that's a good idea. I
get
can reach out
comfortable
to
with
the
these
churches. and see.
prices.
Okay, should we move down to planning and development.
Like again, like amendment to a PUD or subdivision going from 250 to 425. It's 250.
Tabitha, do you have a comment on the?
These fees were reviewed by SBH and they told us we were actually one of the lowest.
Is that a bad thing?
They just said for the amount of time that is put into a lot of these applications, that it's pretty low.
Okay.
So this was their recommendation, but
Thank you.
So personally on these would, and so the county, you're gonna hear the same thing coming out of my mouth that came out of my mouth in ordinance last year, which kind of echoes what Dan said is. I think it's important that we're keeping these affordable and as low as we can. In my opinion, we shouldn't be we should break even on our costs, but we shouldn't be in the business to be padding our budget with fee schedule.
It looks like just everything got the 425 stamp.
Doesn't the plat fee go to the county though, not the city?
there are some people,
So that would be on top of, the county would be on top of a city.
but that'll come out of the escrow.
Like-
Cause essentially it's only going up
That's
like
fine.
$29. $3.96. Most of them.
So SEH made these recommendations and it's our job to accept them or not, or.
You can decide if you wanna leave them
Mhm.
at the 4.90. I would ask that if you're gonna leave them at the price that they are, that they go to the 350 then versus the 396, because the $46 essentially it kind of causes a little bit of you have to
Okay,
break the fee down, and then you take that 396 fee, break it down into the $46, and then the $46 needs to go in and with the escrow, because we can't
Yep.
pay the $46 recording fee out of a revenue account. Essentially. We have to put it into escrow. Sometimes there's things that cost more than $46 a stock, so either way, it's not too do leave it, I would have to, either the way it's stated.
So if you compare that to the projects at hand, I mean, how does the 425 equate to like a housing development or something? Project in general? Are we talking about like fraction, drop in the bucket? Is it the real deciding factor that they're not gonna do the project here? Or?
I think like a conditional use permit or an interim use permit, my personal opinion would be it depends on the project. I mean, we're looking at 80 homes and millions of dollars, or you could be looking at someone that wants to run a home business out of their home and just as a stay-at-home parent that wants to. So it's
And
the whole gamut.
have we been spending any time reviewing conditional use permits lately?
We
Follow
went
up on
through
them.
Chet Planning Commission this last.
Just last summer. We went through them all.
So is that cost incorporated in here, or does the taxpayers keep that cost?
This is just a function of the planning commission as dictated by council that the CUPs are supposed to be reviewed annually.
and then is comprehensive spice plan misspelled on page 15?
Yeah.
Okay,
You jumped a bunch of pages.
Page 15?
15, is it? No, page 3, sorry,
Oh,
I was gonna
okay.
say,
my bad,
Where is that?
at the top.
Oh,
Oh, thank you.
on your side, okay. Any more discussion or questions for planning and any
I'm ready
zoning?
to approve as presented, or you want to?
If you want to just keep
input?
walking through the questions and comments or corrections, we can keep doing it that way. If you want to make changes as we go, or
guess my thought is, I know there's some talk about making things cheaper, and my thought would be to strike what the city would take in on any of the rates, but there is still a cost to do a business, and I mean, whatever you pick on here, still need to have some kind of ownership of that project. And should the rest of the taxpayers offset that cost, or you take ownership in some portion of your project? So if you want to make it cheaper, then maybe we look at cutting the city's portion. Or are you saying that the city deserves the money more so than the rest of the rates?
For me, part of it is some of this to me is already should be covered in what people pay in taxes as a service that we provide. And that's just my opinion. But again, a lot of these just seem like we're raising it to raise it.
Yeah, I guess I have to cut you off, Dan, I apologize, but that's kind of like, we have a city planner, we're gonna have a city planner, whether we have one project or whether we have 100 projects. We're gonna have a planning commission that these are requirements for our city, so. If we're already here, it's changing the rates. Not talking a ton of money, I understand that, but I think we need to be sensitive to that in this world that we live in. I want to enable, in my mind, I just want to enable, if you want to, you're scraping together $350, $450 to set up a home business and sell pottery out of your garage. I don't want to stop you from doing that, because you're just going to open the door and sell pottery out of your garage. You can't follow the rules. So,
to Mr. Palmer's point, would it maybe behoove us to break the fee schedule out a little bit and be able, if it's a home-based business, CUP, X amount of dollars, if it's if it's one house, it's this amount, if it's a development, it's this amount,
or X amount per living unit or dwelling unit, something that's kind of a little bit more. I wouldn't be opposed to that at all. I think that's
now don't ask me what that is, I'm not sure, I'm just spitballing here, but
I also feel like, it would be nice to have, a verbalized and written rationale on why they were increased instead of, well, it's what everyone else is doing, so we thought we'd do it too. And it feels that way. And, that, I think, comes from whoever made the decision to put the increase in, is to provide us with the rationale.
Why did we allow Rum River to set the rates on building?
I mean, as long as I pay with my buyer from.
Why can't we challenge that? Why is that stone?
From the presentation, I remember when they talked about that, is that they were looking at putting the rates there so that either the person who is doing the project paid for them, or we could remove it, but then that cost would go to the taxpayers to pay for that service. So at the time, the argument for the council to decide was, does the person that's making the improvement pay for it, or does the taxpayers who might not be getting any kind of kickback pay for that cost? And I think that's when the rates were set. That's my recollection.
Well, that would be the best rationale in the world, but as far as I'm concerned, when you look at some of these projects that are huge and you take the rates per $1,000, and we're one cog higher than Cambridge, we're chasing business away. I mean, that's in my estimation. I don't, and if that's the case, then his profit margins are set way too high. He needs to rein it in. I don't.
These are significantly lower than the industry average. All of these permit fees and inspection fees, significantly lower.
You do a survey of about 50 cities around here, and I've done probably 30 or 40, and I'll tell you what, we're so far on the top, it's not even funny. And then there's something wrong with that. I'm sorry, Dan, but I just don't. All we're doing is encouraging non-compliance, because if they read, you got to get a permit 120. Oh hell, I'll just do it on Saturday. Nobody's going to know anyway. Instead of doing it the right way and making sure it's done safely. Because when I was doing the inspection, I know Adam's seen it too. I've seen a lot of cobbled up messes. unsafe situations and, you know, gas lines not capped off and electrical wires hanging loose in the ceilings and, you know,
Doesn't a lot of that come down to us not just going through complaint based, but actually setting up inspection based? I don't know if that falls under the international property, what was the code, where it starts setting that upkeep. But even if you had cheap rates, I mean, does that guarantee compliance, or are you still going to get people who are just going to do it on a Saturday and wish for the best?
I don't know. I don't know if we're ever going to solve that problem, but
I would
maybe we
venture to
sure
guess,
don't make it easier.
speaking from my own experience, when I bought my house and after 7 months, I had to have a $60,000 roof put on it because the guy that did it, remodeled my house, didn't go through the inspections. I didn't have any idea that I had to pull a permit from it because I figured that the builder would do it. But when I did it, it was $75, take some pictures and send it to me. That's all. I don't know that if people know that if they put in a water heater or a water softener or any of that, that they, you know, is it common knowledge that you need a permit for that stuff? No.
I like to equate it to Adobe Photoshop, and I know it sounds like I'm way off in the weeds here, but give me a second and I'll get there. No one wants to buy Adobe Photoshop because it's $2,500, but anybody will pay $10 a month to get Adobe Photoshop because it's $10 a month, and it's a lot easier to come up with $10 a month to buy Photoshop than it is to pay $2,500 once every version. So that's, I guess, just my.
How many water heaters have we inspected over the last 5 years?
Probably the ones I paid for.
And that's what I feel like I never.
Do you know?
And I had to bug the heck out of them to get them to come and inspect it.
Three,
Yeah.
so last year, I wanna say it was somewhere in the,
60 or 70 water heaters?
Well-
HVAC altogether.
Oh,
That's the only way that
That's-
I could break.
Most of your good contractors are gonna go by the book. Everyone that I dealt with,
Mhm.
they didn't want their license compromised, but I had a couple of them come to me and said, and that was before, you know, Rum River was even on board. And even after Rum River was on board, they would say, well, we're putting them in, but they never come back and inspect them. Well, so why am I doing this? But I know I gotta do it because my license is at risk if I don't do it. I just think if we just keep it reasonable and I guess my thought was after talking to the Cambridge inspector, I said, are you okay dollar wise? Are you making your wages and are you costing the city money or the taxpayers money by doing this at $64? He said no. Because most of them they can take a picture and that's all I need. I can tell by a picture whether it's put in properly or not. And I believe him, I know you could. I mean if it's done right. The ones that are not put in right doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure it out. They're cobbled together and you can see it.
Sometimes it takes the fire department to figure it out.
Yeah. I've seen hot water heaters, electric hot water heaters wired with lamp cords, and a lot of other things that weren't safe. And you know, I just think if it was cheaper, I think you'd have more compliance because I don't think people would think it was. I think people want to do things right. I think sometimes we don't give them enough credit. It's just that. I think I'll just get my brother-in-law to do it.
I think I'll touch on Dan's point here too, that I don't think a lot of we had that storm. Oh gosh, it's been probably 7 or 8 years ago now, but storm, roofing contractor came by the next summer and said, hey, you qualify for your roof, through your insurance, yada, yada, yada. I'm sure I can find hail damage. They found hail damage. I got a new roof. A couple weeks later and, hey, I'm here to inspect your new roof. Oh, okay. So thankfully that person did their due diligence and hired the inspector and did everything. But me as the homeowner, I'm like, sure, take care of it. I would like a new roof. So
Yeah.
and you're saying,
It's like, what permit?
yeah.
I need a permit for this?
Basically, you need a permit for everything except floor coverings and paint and wallpaper. As a landlord, you can't do anything except plug things in. You can't wire in plugins. You can't do any of that unless you're a qualified electrician. You can't change a gas fitting unless you're a qualified gas service person. There's just very few things that you should do yourself if it affects someone else's life. And, but there are landlords out there that don't go by that book.
I don't know what to do with. We on this for a while. Do you want to get us some more information and on the building inspector stuff, Marcy? And
Mhm.
Page are we on? 4?
the 6 down to 7 will be fire department services. That sound right to everybody?
Yes. Page 7.
No changes, except we're taking out the X.
This has been discussed at length. We're having a hard time getting any of that money back.
Can't collect it. Costs too much.
Yeah. So I did have 2 questions. False alarms. I know there was a stretch there where we were going to one location a lot. And we'd look at adding like a 4th that jumps up more in that case, or does it just tap out? Because I think at some point it was almost cheaper for the fire department to show up that. I mean, is there a point when the false alarm should hurt so bad that it should prompt them to get it addressed?
I understand exactly what you're saying, but I guess my thought process on that is when they start seeing their bills come through for their false alarm,
Mhm.
they generally heard enough that they're getting that fixed. Like, might go to one store, when they start getting those racked up, they start getting that too. Well, I don't know. I think that after the people start getting those invoices for the false alarms after they were pretty aware that they need to keep that.
Are you seeing multiple false alarm calls with kind of the off-the-shelf wireless? Well, I know I have a wireless home security system that can do smoke and fire and drip and all those sort of things. Are you seeing more issues with the prevalence of those than, or is it just kind of a?
I would say we're seeing more prevalence of. And then they have one general bad.
Maybe that's some, not on topic, but maybe that's some education that we can help provide somehow. Not sure how, but just an idea thrown in the dartboard.
We usually do lots. Or does it prompt an automatic inspection by your part? Yeah.
Some of these calls aren't necessarily city limits. If I should be going out and doing my.
You were talking about if it's at a bar in a township or something, or a restaurant or whatever, or a church, Yeah.
Township. But I have to notify the township or party the township do that.
Well, it depended on the administrator we had at the time, and that changed rapidly. But what I would do is I would ask the administrator, what do you want me to do? They were at a fire, and there's churches out in the country that have no exit signs. There's a lot of stuff out there that isn't up to code, and yet the townships do not enforce the fire codes.
So what I was told to do by a couple of the administrators, just send a letter off to the township citing the code, what you've seen as a violation. It's up to them whether they want to enforce it or not on their own. We don't have to do it. The state fire marshal's office is not gonna do it. So unless they, engage us to do it. And we did a few of them, not very many, but we did a few. You've done some in Henriette and other things, haven't you? Yeah. And that's possible, you know, the townships could hire his services if they wanted to, but that's another thing that costs money and they don't want to spend it sometimes, so.
But I think that would prompt maybe some safety in the townships if that was put into false alarms. But you're not gonna do an inspection in the townships if they don't hire you for, inspection, so it would just be a repeat fire alarm. I
You
think-
got that rate in there, right? You got that, yeah,
But that's only if they contract your services.
right.
And if they're not contracting their services, there's no prompt to go out there. So I guess they can get the bill, but how's our billing situation been for collecting money from? Have we ever had any problems with collecting from people? We only bill the township for my service. Right, but what about for fire service? That would go back to the property itself, right?
Mhm.
Have you ever struggled with collecting money from a property?
Yeah.
There's some.
property owners that haven't paid the bill for months. General collection.
I think it merits some revisits. I also think that we need to do something with EMS assistance. I know this has been a hot topic, and I know that we currently can't do it, but I do think that we're being, and I think it's probably our department statewide is running into this problem, something that we need to look at addressing, because we're being called out for a lot of stuff where there should be an ambulance on site. So I would like to see that revisited, talked about on how we're gonna address that, because we're gonna keep eating the cost and the business is gonna keep profit at our expense. And if that's what we wanna do, that's fine, but we need to talk to all our partners, the townships, to see if that's what they wanna do too.
Would that include, landing helicopters?
That depends, are you landing a helicopter out of their house, or are you landing a helicopter at a facility that should probably have a landing?
The second. Like I know, cause like a lot of times in the winter, correct me if I'm wrong, like, don't we have to go clear parking lot somewhere to get helicopters down if they can't land at the property? Is that just part of the service or is that an additional fee?
We do not bill for that service at all.
I know at least, and I don't know what the difference or how much of it's city versus how much of it's county. I know the sheriff's deputies I've definitely seen out before Wellia started their expansion project, for example, that's where they usually land the helicopter, and I've seen county sheriff's deputies there as much as I've seen fire department deputies out there. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but I would say it's kind of whoever's available and can get some flashing lights there just to let people know. It's kind of if it was 100% us or 100% them, I could see, but I feel like it's kind of a difficult situation when it's sometimes it's us, sometimes it's them, or it always relies on the sheriff at that point in time. Or
if you're picking them up from a remote area, that's probably one thing, but if you're picking them up at a facility that's transferring them to another location that chooses not to put in a proper landing zone, and you're doing that repeatedly, is that on us or on them?
Because does anybody know, the expansion at Willia does not include a helipad, correct? Okay, thank you.
Tom, do you know when Essentia's contract is up?
Oh, no, I don't.
3-year, wasn't it? 3-year, isn't it?
Essentia
Yeah. With the county.
with the ambulance?
Yeah.
30 years.
Holy
Like when it was signed.
Oh,
17 years ago.
It's a while ago. I don't remember exactly when we signed the contract. I think it was a year.
I want to say I've heard about that at the county level, but
Well, this sheriff won't deal with it, but the next one might, and that's where we need to keep our eyes and ears open so that that's the only way you're gonna get money is if you're put into that, you're part of that contract.
Do you have an idea what the costs are, what kind of savings you're talking? Is it $20,000 or $5,000?
As far as,
What you talking about, like the service that you're providing?
well, you know, hard to run a weird, report because they all get kind of for specifics. Because in our system that we report our calls in, they all kind of get reported under other agency or other agency for those.
That's an acceptable answer. I'm just wondering. 'Cause-
It would be a total guess.
Yeah.
But there's a fair amount of our calls that are, you know, doing it. It's not on a helicopter calls, but it seems like they go. But at the end of the year, there's probably still. Yes.
I mean, if we're getting into more EMS assistance calls, we look at putting more money into training for more EMS services? Or do we open up more exposure by going to more calls every time we go to a medical with bloodborne pathogens or other bodily fluids? I mean, you're basically mobilizing 25 firefighters potentially to go to this. That's for our department. I know a lot of other departments out there have been really struggling with this, where they go out on a call and the ambulance isn't there all the time.
tell them when I had the call. EMS worker shows up and pulls their bag out of the back of the truck of their personal car, and 10 minutes later, the deputy or ambulance shows up, or what have you, and that's in downtown core Pine City. So I know it's much longer when you get out of the township. Not necessarily are. Last time I had to call the ambulance to haul me to the hospital, it took 37 minutes for the ambulance to get there. Yeah. That's sorry, I'm gonna get in the weeds here for 2 seconds, but that's one of the biggest. It's always on my mind is if you were having a stroke and every minute counts and you have 35 minutes to get to a hospital and every single hospital is 25 minutes away. If you're going 90,
That's where we're at.
you got to get there somehow, and that's how do we make sure it's happening better. And that's not a futile conversation. I understand that, but that's.
But if we want to improve that service, we look at adding in a fee schedule, figure out a way to do it, or should we look at bumping up that budget to provide that service, which is going to open up a discussion with everybody else. But I get merits of conversation.
A quick, because I didn't know we were going to talk about this, so I just did a quick Google search. It says, based on Minnesota city ordinances, fire departments generally do not directly charge individuals for deployment of helicopter to a scene, as these services are covered by taxes or considered mutual aid. And then there's a however, and it goes on to list false alarms being one of them. And so, yeah, it sounds like we have some homework if this is something we want to pursue.
I mean, it's a big enough deal where local news a week ago spent a week covering the fire
Yes.
departments, covering EMS calls and how they're all getting burned out.
Yep.
And I think that's something that we're seeing as issues with not enough EMS workers out there.
I was so surprised when I learned that you help people stand up when they fall sometimes. It was like, what? It was just,
So that's where it's
Yeah.
leads.
Yeah.
Already. Is there anybody currently on the fire department that would be qualified or have interest in doing EMS training if we were to move forward that way?
Most of the firefighters, I don't, but most of the firefighters are actually EMR. We have one currently that I'm aware of with EMT. I don't know that there would be a lot, but I think there would be a handful of individuals that would be interested in continuing the education, but there you'd be looking at probably doing, but we'd be looking at probably doing some form of duty cruise. At that point where you have a couple people on call to go respond as first responders, so you're not bothering the other 24 people all night long and everything. One of the biggest hiccups we have is we have the tiny EMS, which actually should be responding out to these calls. They respond to a lot of them. And they're officially doing the EMS assist right now. Hinkley had the same or similar setup. Sandstone had the same or similar setup. Sandstone Fire Department and Hinkley Fire Department had both now became their own first responder agency. First responder failing.
Numbers are down.
Numbers were down, recruiting is hard, things like that. So both of them departments have taken that up. I will say as far as lift assist, I finally got a few documents that I'm gonna, knew were coming, but I finally got a few documents that I'm gonna ask Melanie to send down to the league, to see for legal review, to be honest. But those would cover a fair amount of our lift assist calls on documents where if you're called to a licensed healthcare facility, which we have, or where there's another city of Minnesota that is billing the licensed care facilities for if the fire department has to go and do it. There are many calls we do on an annual basis to do just that. They don't have the staff to do it, they're on duty, training to do it. You just sleep in the fire, but stop sitting there and yeah, we ain't touching. So that's going on in town, on a fairly regular basis. But that's why I zoned in on that. I've got those documents. I have received them. Get those to Melanie tomorrow. If that's something that we can look at. There's a fee schedule, but if that department that's doing it, there's a fee schedule actually attached to it. But as far as billing for the helicopter stuff, this and that, that would take a lot more review because there you can build the part of what one ambulance call is going to have more than one billing for that. And I've got some information coming from a couple other departments that we're looking, I don't know if they've implemented it, but we're looking for if we got called up to Johnny's place to land the helicopter. Well, we're not going to fill the patient before you fill Johnny. One with that is, what if we got called out to land the helicopter in Johnny's yard and we end up sending Johnny a bill? If we landed the helicopter, it's going to be the helicopter theory, but the yard can have room to land the helicopter. So that's kind of hoops and evidence that as far as doing and I've actually been reaching out to find out. I know of departments in Wisconsin that do this. Those do healthcare facilities for again license for land. I don't know of any in Minnesota that are doing it. I know that that's kind of the, what's the right way to say this, but that's kind of the right way to encourage a healthcare facility to put a FAA approved telepad in. So literally legally have a person walk outside and say, yep, there's no deer out there, nobody around it, and lights around, we don't need it. But the reason we have both is probably that telepad up there is 30
Might be a place to start.
Any other comments on fire department or fire and life safety? Let's move down to page 8. General licenses and permits. I feel like, and I could be very off base here, but I feel like the fireworks display permit doesn't really matter what we charge because it's only one that's a nonprofit. I mean, if you want to set up a private fireworks show, go for it. That would be something like what would we consider a special event? Like something in the park, something in. That went up $10. Just
I guess back to the fireworks display, that went up $20 because of administration.
I'm not sure.
I don't know why we don't wanna do this.
Well, maybe we could just come back to this with, department heads or whomever increase the fee to give us some rationale so we can understand it. Otherwise, we're just kind of throwing darts at a wall.
So in this category though is the mobile food, which we brought up earlier.
Yes, sir.
yes, Tom.
Well, I can't tell you, and I'm the only one. They do take place from the apartment. Because you have to go by the diameter of the start code and you have to go by the diameter of the mortar that they're running. You have to find the buffer zone out. You have to survey the site. You have to verify the license of the operator that's going to be shooting the show. You have to with the state of Minnesota. You have to verify their insurance. Buffer zone and all those. Location. That's going to have it on.
Is this just our Freedom Fest fireworks?
That's
Typically,
the only one that we deal with in town. Any of them that are out of town that I hate to assume, but county has fire chief.
So all of them are on Cross Lake Big Bluff.
You know as well as I do that
They're bigger fireworks than the Freedom.
Just show up when something goes wrong.
It's like World War II out there sometimes.
No, did we
I actually do think there's been a couple of shows out.
I think maybe did. I don't know. There's some big ones out
I can think of probably one that I won't name names, but I like the big one. I'll just leave it there.
Do we want to do anything with the mobile food units or just phone or?
I know there was concern about it.
Kind of like the ability. I think of the food trucks the brewery has or has had in the past, and sometimes they'll do the same. Like every 3 weeks, they'll rotate through a different set of food trucks, but the same one kind of comes back after a certain number of time. Or I could see that might make sense for them if they can pay $100 or $250 for the year and just be done with it. That might be a lot easier than trying to scramble and go through and get a food truck permit for the day every time that you're trying to sell.
Yeah,
So
just one more thing for them to remember.
And not have to report where they're gonna show up. We just know that we have their insurance. That's all we really care about. Are you insured? And that, yeah, the state.
Yeah. I guess for me, being retired from the food industry, I just would like to see it tied together with some sort of health department, either county or state. What are we charging for it? We're not inspecting, we're not observing, we're not giving land, we're just charging them for the ability to be there.
and they're proving they have the state inspection and the insurance.
Right. But yeah, to me, that just, it discourages people.
I think it's a little high. I mean,
Do we have to inspect if they, I guess, put fences around their stuff or have any kind of fuel sources or extension cords, if that's all in compliance, that somebody's not tripping over it or?
That would be
come with
hand
the
washing
license,
stations. Every once in a while, you should be testing equipment to make sure that can cook stuff hot enough. Make sure that the people that are serving the food understand that what the temperature danger zone is, how to wash hands. Because if we're issuing a permit and somebody serves mobile food and there's some sort of foodborne illness outbreak, that comes back on the permit issuer.
I know. Fair. We have health inspector there every year. And that's not including the exhaust hoods and all of the other things that go along with that. But they're there every year inspecting everything, making sure everything. And I don't know about the mobile carnival events. I think they're their own deal, but they inspect our Alliance clubs and the local food stand.
You do the hoods and stuff out, cause I used to do all the hoods in the fire stand. Fair, yeah, that continues, cause we would make sure that their hood systems were current and that their fire extinguishers were current, but we had done it so often that the carnivals told they're all leases, a lot of these people. They're leases, you better be current when you come to mine. I never had too much trouble with them.
A lot of people have fun. We're not trying to get people sick.
Well, they want it to be safe too, because we've had a fire out at the fairgrounds. It's not fun.
yeah.
Yeah, like I said, the alfresco for me, that's some justification as to why it would make sense to me. Because I agree with Miss Petty that it does do a lot for our city. It does bring people in. It does create ambiance. It does create tax revenue. I think, I mean, if anything, this is, to me, in my opinion, this is discouraging people.
How about animals? I'm ready for animals.
I have a question about the adoption fee.
I was just gonna.
Why is there language that says the city administrator or the mayor can waive the fee? I mean, either we should just strike the fee or strike
Yeah.
the language to make it cheaper.
What I don't understand is why we don't license dogs. I can understand cats because you can't hurt cats, and we've had plenty of feral cats in Pine City when I was taking care of them. But the dog thing, why do we give that up? So, I mean, I see it.
That went through ordinance and was removed.
No one's done it.
Yeah.
You guys keep saying this, and I made sure I licensed my dog when I
They,
joined council.
They're still supposed to register them. They
Yeah,
just
there's
have
just
to
no
fee.
fee.
Nobody,
When we talked about this last year, Dave, if memory serves, we have the same box of registration tags that we've had for 30 years. So,
And isn't a lot of that done by the vets? Don't we rely on the vets?
The vets send the documentation over.
So she has a license. Maybe it's not current.
well, when we used to have a little more in there, with these people that had several animals, and that was the ones that, and they didn't control them. That was where a lot of the complaints come when I had to take care of it. Is that a problem yet? I don't.
So what committee does that fall under?
I don't.
Ordinance committee?
I'm not sure if it was ordinance or what it
Oh,
was.
yeah, that's.
Public Works used to have the kennel. I don't even think
Yeah,
they have
but
the
I'm
kennel.
just saying, making up, reviewing that stuff would, that would be
Right.
ordinance.
planning for this next meeting.
Okay.
Can we swing back to adoption fee, because I'm still confused, is that if the city, someone surrenders an animal to the city, we'll say, for example, and then someone
Laura
decides
takes it home.
to adopt the dog, then we could charge them $35?
She's got the rest of
I
the
think
story.
Mayor Robbins started that. I
Yes.
think.
so a long time ago when we would take it off, would hold it for so many days, and if somebody didn't show up that owned it, Mayor Robbins would go and get his hair done and
Yeah.
take it to the vet and then find somebody to adopt it.
because she never wanted any of them to be
Destroyed.
euthanized.
So that $35 covered a dog wash and a haircut?
I think actually Jane probably covered it up about and she probably waived it every single week, to be honest.
I'm gonna say,
Because she loved
Cat?
the dog.
No?
It's all yours now, so.
I fostered a dog, for the city last summer.
Yeah.
And that $35 would have been great to take care of the door that it ate through, but.
It's just for, yeah, but just for the animal, you did it just for.
Absolutely. I think we should strike the adoption fee for it. If you want to take over some things that's been surrendered and give it another hope, that's my opinion.
That would be my thought too.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Like that.
Beekeeping permits, that seems. Do we have any beekeepers in
I
the
don't
city of
think we
Queen City?
We have one.
Oh, we do have one.
We do have one.
And you can only really have one because colonies need to be 3 to 5 miles apart.
Correct.
Yeah, 'cause I looked into it and I was like, there's no way I could make this happen.
That's why I don't
It's
have
over
these.
fairground, behind the fairground.
Yeah.
What about chicken keeping permits? Do we have a lot of those?
No.
And we have
Two.
but
Don't we have just two?
Used to be more.
we have a lot of chicken permits.
You can have 5 yet, right? 5 chickens? No roosters.
No rooster.
Unless you go to Bruin, if you go to Bruin, you'll hear the roosters crowing.
Big issues, complaints, not a whole lot that goes into it after that. I'm assuming someone inspects and makes sure that it's
Yep.
up to par. And
So once they apply their plans, once they get signed off by you, it gets looked at. And
Crack a couple eggs.
they're in the file, I know they're all there.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Liquor, beer, wine. The on sale liquor price is the same as the special club license.
Mhm.
I guess I'm just wondering what the difference is between the two.
It's,
We don't.
So
Something offered through the state, but we don't have any.
would cannabis places be under a special permit if somebody wanted to open a cannabis consumption facility?
Can we defer that to the county?
Yeah,
I
we
thought
don't have
you said we were.
No, not a retail, but like if somebody wanted to open a bar, but they serve cannabis products instead of alcohol. Because that's allowed by state law.
would that,
Still a state.
And then they have to, once they get the license from the state, then they have to register it with.
That's
And
where
for
I'm
us
at.
to sell THC, we had to get our new license from OCM. And then once I received that license, then I had to register it so that they had notification that I actually had the okay from the state first. They're aware that.
So like, say, we have local businesses in town that are already sell like THC drinks, but they don't have a specific license for that, or is it
So
covered
if-
by liquor?
If they did not renew with the OCM as of March 31st, they cannot sell anymore.
That's too bad.
Now they had to renew with the OCM, and I know that there's a few restaurants that chose not to renew because the licensing was like $250 just for the application, and $250 once you got into the approval process, and then it was another $100.
so does it make sense to keep special club license in there? Or
Looking at other cities, it's just a thing. I mean,
Almost like part of a state statute that we have to include it.
When if it ever came up.
Then we have a fee for it.
Another question, if we have brew pub license, brew tap room, brewery license, and then we have a winery license. We have on sale beer, and we have on sale wine, but we don't have like a winery tap room or what's to stop somebody from opening up basically a wine bar? Is that covered under something separate or like a brewery, or would it be on par with each other?
I would think a wine bar would be on the one.
And a
So that's
winery
right there.
or a winery license.
Just going back to the club license, we had a club license in the past because the Legion was considered a club. But now the Legion is open to the public, so I don't think that they are considered a club. That's what a club license was that. For like the VFW that has a bar in it, and it's only for VFW members.
Who could off-sale malt liquor other than you?
Off-sale malt liquor, no one.
Oh, we need to have that. Can we strike that, or do we need to keep that in there?
Yeah, I know, if we don't have any, why would, we don't allow it, so.
Piggybacking on what Kyle was saying, similar with a winery would be like a cidery. You're probably gonna have that in the city limits if you're making your own cider, or you're not. Later. Yeah, well, would these fall under like a brewery or brewer's license, or did they?
Be about one size catch-all, or find up on each specific line?
I don't know what makes sense.
There's a lot of things that goes along with this that would be one of those things that you learn it when it gets thrown at you. No question.
The only thing we're cheaper than Cambridge at, Cambridge is $2,500 for.
Oh, is it now? Okay.
All right, any other questions for liquor, beer, or wine? Move on to miscellaneous. Can you explain to me what an administrative citation could be?
If you mowing your lawn, shoveling your sidewalk,
Instead of like charging somebody misdemeanors. Increase. Get somebody. Offer us their much. Well, she have something.
Oh.
And it wasn't seemingly for some of these that have been issued are continuously repetitive.
For their lawn mowing service where there's no removal service.
So would it make sense to tier the administrative citation to make it hurt a little bit more?
Well, that's why we kind of wonder if we don't see.
I mean, because one thing the city does is we're very gracious with the warnings and extensions if needed. We're not hardcore. 1 minute late, here's your ticket. So
That's a good upfront policy, but after that, if you do administer administrative citation, and then you go back and you have to administer another one, I do kind of like the tiered stacking effect, because you give them all the round possible.
opportunity, yeah.
Years ago there, when we had started the rental registration process, we had people that weren't complying, and when our fine was $20. I had someone come in the door and say, well, I waste more than that at the bar. Well, okay, so we raised it to 100. We didn't have any violations the next year. Took care of it. So sticking them does work.
Next action request is just.
We've moved up the planning.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you for that.
The NSF admin fee, didn't they lower that to only be like $4 or something a couple years ago?
Yeah, but one of the first things that the president did was do away with that. Or allow banks to do away with that.
Under miscellaneous. All right, let's move on to park.
The last Parks and Recreation. I know it's the $10 minimum, but are we talking about making this significant for accountability or?
The lost. Yeah, because there's the form that's signed and yeah, they're actually, the key form has a fee charge on there for the key. So can we bring that one back? Because I think the sheet actually explains the fee of what is each key that's passed out you're signing for, and that would not cover what it would cost to get a new key.
It says $10 minimum fee, so maybe that takes into account, but
Okay.
I thought we talked about upping that.
Why couldn't it just be actual cost of replacement?
That's what it says.
Well, it
Actual
does
cost
say-
of breaking
Oh,
goes
true.
if needed with the $10 minimum.
Well, there it is, yeah.
Okay.
Hilltop reservation fee. Reason for the $5 increase or?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't.
I like 75 and 25 just because they're round numbers, but that's just.
I like it too.
75, 25.
Community room rental.
I struggle with this one.
That's a lot of money. Right? Not that. Trying to think back to the day when I used to rent the town hall. I want to say it was $100 and you got 50 of it back when you rent like the
Yeah, I
town
think
hall
so.
or something like
You
that.
just write 2 checks, $50 or something like
Yeah.
that.
How long ago was that?
Oh, that was probably 25 years ago.
So what's the cost of inflation since then?
That's a nonprofit, so there was no charge.
Mm-hmm. And if it's something open to the community.
Okay.
So that fee is more just like if I'm gonna have a birthday party, private event.
Well, insurance guys use it for meetings and stuff like that.
We don't charge the driver's ed people, right?
No, they do pay.
They do.
They pay our full fee to have it every Monday. I think it's 8 a.m. to 4:30, and they pay the full fee. I think they pay quarterly to the city.
Do we move or clean a lot of porta johns? We sub all that out, don't we?
Off field maintenance. 150 per team. I'm assuming that some of that's covered in gas, wear and tear on mowers, things like that.
Beverage cans.
Swimming lesson portion, I kind of struggle with that.
Okay.
Especially since we're surrounded by so much water.
Would you like that to stay at the 25? I know that's been brought up many times.
I would rather keep it at, again, if it's $10 cheaper and it keeps the kid from drowning, it's worth every penny.
I thought we were talking about doing a family, but we mentioned it, I think.
I do seem to remember that last year.
I mean, there are families that have 2 children and it's a big hit. And I think we are trying to encourage them to learn how to swim, and we do live with a lot of water.
I'll say unpopular, but I think they're too low. I think they're way too low if you compare them to what everybody else is doing for swimming lessons, even at $35. That's a steal.
Like if we had a crystal clear, perfectly maintained pool that they were doing swimming lessons in, I would be in 100% in agreements with you, but
And more is what, 75 or 100?
Oh, no goodness, it's probably it's
100 this year.
100.
That's where I have, and I agree with you, but $65 more for a pool. I would pay, but
Well, that's one of our jobs as cities is to provide public safety and education and everything else. I think if we have to pull some money out of budget just to do or make the budget just for that, I think we need to do that. I think that's. I'd hate to have a family of 5 or 6 kids not let their kids go because they couldn't afford to do it, and it is not worth what we're saving in taxes. I don't care if monetary, whatever rest of them.
I agree.
but swimming lessons aren't a service that we have to provide.
Right.
I
I think
hope
one
it's a
thing
luxury.
just for council to think about too is how do you prove it's your child? If I come in to register 5 children, how,
Still a child. I mean,
but if we were to cap and say there's a 4, anything after 4, there isn't, but how do you show that it's actually your child you're registering and not your neighbors?
Well,
it's to pick them up and bring them.
parents have to be and adults have to be responsible. Children don't. I don't hold.
No, we can't. I don't want to start IDing children
No,
for swimming lessons.
I do not either.
And I would say too that this is an unpopular thing that I've heard it from many, many people is that our swimming lessons are cheap daycare. It's $25 for a few weeks and people can drop their kids off and not have to deal with them for a few hours and they can give a rat's if they learn how to swim or don't learn how to
It's
swim.
a very good rate.
Fair.
But they have had someone
say
there.
on the contract that a parent or
Parent
guardian
has to be present, I thought.
Do we
Can
add
we
that?
add that?
I think it should be added. I know
That's
my,
one way to help mitigate it as we kind of come, from, yes,
I mean, the instructors are
Lifeguard,
already
I mean,
busy.
sometimes it's easy to pick out because that's the one who's, you've said their name 15 times and you look around and there's no one there. But then they're unattended.
let the parents ask the other parents to help them out if they need to run over to get a pop at the wall at Quick Trip now, I guess.
Well,
I would encourage council to keep it per child and not do a max. I think that would be very difficult to manage.
I would be okay with keeping it per child, but I would like, I know, Mr. Swanson's opinion, but I would like to keep it at that cost.
25.
Yes, I just want people to know how to swim around here.
I agree with that.
Okay, in all fairness to Brock, because he had to do the budget, is this gonna affect, by not getting this raise, paying the lifeguards and stuff? Because we can always worry about it next year when we go into it, if it is, but. Well, who did the scholarships? That was a grant. That was a DNR grant. Yeah, we should. I'd encourage you to actively go for that. Yeah.
Sometimes some other organizations pitch in some of that too, and even if
What about like the Pokemon Lake Association?
Cross Lake Association.
Right.
does that give you enough to go on with that?
Yeah,
Could we tag you just thinking out of the box and going out in the weeds? Could, when we do our sewer rates to Cross Lake and Pekegma, tack a surcharge on for swimming lessons?
Administrative costs.
Administrative costs. We don't have to call it swimming lessons. Administrative costs and use it earmark it for swimming lessons.
So from the coconuts.
Well, I said it was outside the box.
All right, Move on to public work services here. Guessing the general labor rate just kind of ties in with actual wage rates and making sure we're breaking even there.
That's
That
what I
makes
was told.
sense to me.
I did some comparison of this to what our contracted services are charging us, and they don't match. Because we don't have, and I might be wrong here, but we don't have operators that we can rent out. Right? We don't have certified excavator operators. We have people that can drive a loader or a truck. So
Like the mini excavator.
any excavator or whatever it might take. So shouldn't those match what we're paying if we need that equipment and those services? Or are we just doing labor or operator stuff under what we can perform as a public?
Yeah, why don't,
I
I'm gonna
think
get clarity
that's
on
a
the
good
general
point.
labor.
I feel like a lot of this came up when we were talking about putting the banners up and down and things like that, and Christmas lights, or, you know, how volunteers hung the lights in the park. Like if we would have had to hire Public Works to come help us with that, this gives them a base for that. I don't think it's apples to apples what you're saying.
Well, I see general labor operator in the public works. That's part of the labor agreement that it has just when I see labor
Yeah.
operator, I think.
But I think that's how these came about.
I do recall that part, Gina, but didn't we end up waiving the cost for like the school students doing their graduation?
Yeah, we had some kind of agreement with them. The banners still
Yeah.
$200, but
Separate fee.
yeah.
Covered under the.
But it wouldn't hurt to get clarity, but at least the increases make sense to me on this.
We do have an MOU with the high school or the high school banners.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Dan's point.
Okay, I'll get clarity to see if that's just for our staff.
Because I'm thinking like if somebody has, say, a water break or something, and they call Public Works is going to have to call somebody out with a machine and somebody to dig it up. I could be overthinking because I'm really good at that.
General labor for public works. Or before was. We went, so we had to just post and they went out in.
Oh,
last
bucket.
Christmas.
I think it was last Christmas.
no, it wasn't.
The bucket truck and broker.
But if it's based off of contractual.
And the other ones that I would like to look at is the towing fee. Do we tow people or do we hire it out?
That's hired out.
So I would just make sure that matches as well. Again, this is my opinion.
Oh, and even just word it actual cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the same with the Vector truck. Like $150 with 2 operators an hour for a Vector truck. If that's what the city charges, then I'm going to start hiring the city's Vector truck because that is ridiculously expensive. Again, just my opinion.
Any other questions?
I think
The water connection one I still struggle with because again, if somebody has their water turned off, it's a function of Public Works truck pulling up, getting out, pulling out their wrench, turning it 3-4 times to turn the water back on and getting back.
as long as it's done during work hour.
Which
Normal
it does
work
not
hours.
specify now. So now we have people asking for their water to be turned on after hours at no cost whatsoever. But we are paying that employee
3 hours
an off
call up time.
call out time.
Did you have those split different fees during normal hours?
Why did it get taken out? That shouldn't have been.
I would like council to consider putting the connection fee back on. Just seeing what's happened over the past year, I think it does serve as a deterrent. And now there is none.
You just remind me,
numbers mind, maybe for the next council meeting or maybe
Yep.
in an email, kind of give us, how many shut-offs and reconnects we had in 2024 versus what we had
Or
in
you-
2025 or something, just
Or
to,
even 23 and 24, take a average on. Also, that could also just be that everything's more expensive.
And I think what we had before was, it was like 55 turn on fee, regular hours,
It was
155,
75, I think.
I think it
or-
was 155
It
after.
was quite a bit, and it had to be cash, right? Wasn't it?
Yep, it always had to be cash.
alright.
That's it, eh?
I don't see a whole lot of changes.
Well, yeah, because the water and sewer rates we're gonna worry about when we get.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Any other questions about anything else before we move on?
I had more stuff.
Yeah.
More expensive.
What are we on the last page now?
All right.
Oh, there's no changes on that.
And be here. Perfect. Let's
See
move
where my
on
wife's blood
to
sugar is.
questions about department reports.
107, not too bad. We got a ways to go.
I guess jumping back to the fire update, it would be nice to get maybe a breakdown of how many medicals, EMS assistance events happened in 2025. I know you presented it at the end of last year, but might be good to review that. Deeper dive into it.
For how long? Did you say 24 or 20?
1 year.
24, 25?
If you want to do both years or 3 years, 3-year average, 1 year average.
The only other question that I have is about pickleball. Because there was an article in the paper where the mayor spoke for us as a council about pickleball moving forward and like, are they moving forward? Are they not moving forward? Like, I didn't have any idea. And I see in here that it says that they've supplied funds for the borings and stuff. So,
Yeah, they have given funds for the boring cost. I believe that's set to be done in a couple weeks. They presented Brock and myself a draft, which say agreement, MOU type of an agreement. It hadn't been approved by their board, actually hasn't been even looked at by their board, so I suggested she bring it to her board. And then it would have to come to council. So they're looking for an agreement in place, kind of what was stated before, that the land has been designated. Once built, the city will maintain because there's different grants they're looking at. So this agreement will help them move forward with grants for, especially I think it was DNR. So, and there is a deadline for that grant application. So I think end of March, I believe.
Just to back up, you said, did we give money for the core samples?
No.
Okay.
They are paying 100% of it.
They came to us and asked for money. But
Yeah, I
didn't.
Mr. Wilson.
Okay, oh, sorry.
But we haven't given them any money or any agreement. It was just an article in the paper saying that
We're working with them was kind of how I stated it because we hadn't had any. I think we're in support of it, but we don't have anything concrete at this point in time. So that's kind of how I worded it, was just we're excited to work together, but
Right. And I think that goes with the same thing about the long-term plan and for people to know that the city is willing to work with them. They're not gonna give them any money.
I think
Can't
we
get
made
the
that,
money and then make the plan.
we made that pretty clear the first time, like, when they come forward with it, that we were very supportive of it. We just that we didn't have anything in the budget at the time. Nobody had asked for anything either, so.
Yeah, and I still wonder, like, is that common that other people pay borings for property that you own? I just don't know. I never got an answer to that. I just thought that was
I would have expected that we had an MOU or something in
Yeah.
place before that
Yeah.
happened, but that's,
Right, and then who owns, does this person just give us the results from the boring then and we own it? 'Cause why would you want borings on land that you don't have anything to do with?
There'll be permits for it anyway, Jim, so
Yeah.
the permits will be pulled and you'll have the evidence.
Well, I mean, it's not for us though.
No, but
Yeah.
I think
The
that's why
city's
the
land.
money was given to the city
Yeah.
from pickleball, because it's the city's land.
I don't think it's any different than any other nonprofit that would donate resources or money to the city, and it becomes city, not theirs.
Right.
That would have to be passed by resolution. I would think,
any other department report?
Thanks for the information.
All right, we'll move on to committee updates. Start with EDA, Animal Fuzzy. And,
EDA was a lot of verbal updates, if I remember correctly. Working on a resolution for CDs, and that would allow the EDA to do CD transfers themselves without full board approval to approve financial institutions.
can you back up there? So, like individual members would be able to do transfers without the rest of the EDA signing off on it, or without the council signing off on it, or?
The approved signers would have the ability, if there's a CD that was maturing, approved signers would have the ability to roll that CD into a new CD without full board approval.
And that was not approved.
It was not approved. Well, it's coming back.
It's
right?
coming back.
We talked about what was kind of a 2-meeting catch up for SCDP and fund checking. We did a business survey with 13 results to try to understand what businesses think of the EDA, what programs they know are available, and what maybe the EDA could do differently to help distribute that money out. It was kind of eye-opening for me in a lot of ways. And the fact that there's a lot of the 13 businesses, there was over 60%, I believe, that didn't even know that a lot of capital was available to them for different programming. The housing demand study update we talked about, that was sent over to council and city staff, had some questions and some tweaks that it got sent back. There was answers that were received, but they weren't provided at the meeting. The Minnesota Investment and Job Creation Fund that we approved for Brokema is in process, and they're getting, I believe, $750,000 in the investment fund and $750,000 in the job creation fund. We discussed the Orvis property evaluation because that was something that we had asked them to do. There was a presentation given as to what the zoning is now, what the EDA's intent was purchasing it. The intent from EDA was to purchase the Orvis property as an extension of the technology park. It was never recorded that way. It sounds like it's coming back again, but it doesn't sound like there's any interest from the EDA to rezone that out of agricultural open space. Right? But, okay.
What was the special EDA meeting for?
Well, at the EDA meeting, there was a CD that matured. Financial rules say that anytime that there's funds that are moved or transferred, there has to be a certain set of steps that are taken, i.e. Approved minutes brought to the bank with the signers to be able to move that money. That step was not taken. And also there was was a vote to take money from one financial institution to another financial institution. And there would need to be an account opened at that institution. And that needs to be approved by resolution. And that resolution was not passed, but there was a ask of city staff to open the account anyways. And city staff said, absolutely can't, because we don't have a resolution, we're not allowed. So we had to call for a special EDA meeting, be able to approve the minutes from the meeting so that the chain of custody could be kept with the funds that were liquidated. And we had to approve the resolution so that the new account could be opened, so the money that was liquidated could be put into the new account that city staff is now authorized.
That is correct.
Some of the stuff you're bringing up is kind of alarming. I know that there's been some concerns with documentation in years past. I'm big on transparency. I think we need to get more involved and take a deeper dive into the EDA, especially because I do remember talking in the past at council meetings about bringing the EDA in and the HRA, but the EDA in and presenting what they're doing, what funds are available, what resources they have at the start of the year. I haven't seen that in a long time. And the concerns that you just outlined, special EDA meeting and information not being recorded correctly, that is concerning. And I think we need to take a closer look at EDA. And I think it's important for our community, but I think we need to make sure that we're operating with transparency and that it's a benefit to everybody. So it would be nice, in my opinion, to see a review of the EDA come back. I know we talked about a lot of the other committees, but I think we need to do a deeper dive into the EDA.
I don't disagree. And I believe we talked about the Small Business Development Center training menu. These are put on by North Central Small Business Development Center. They used to be free training classes, and now they're going to start charging money. So the EDA, the HRA, and the chamber are going to investigate which ones they might want to offer, because they won't pay for. I think when we said that we would pay for, I think
Up to $500.
$500 worth for this year or this go around.
Yep. And we did have two term expirations, one who is interested in renewing and one. That's what I got.
Thank you. Perfect. Thanks, Dan. Next up, Planning Commission. Planning, we last week appointed a new chair, vice chair, secretary. Reverse schedule for this year. And we had a public hearing on variance and appeals and the conditional use ordinance update. I don't know if there's anyone in attendance, so that was not on the agenda, so we weren't able to vote on it at that point in time. And then started going through some of the low-hanging ordinances that need to be updated, worked through, that ordinance committee was previously supposed to be working on, but then got moved to planning.
Was that received at planning?
Went well, and it was, I think, a little bit of uncertainty as to how to proceed with everything, kind of just getting thrown together like that. But I think we'll find our stride and we'll make it happen.
There was concerns from a couple of commissioners that they're interested in planning, and they want to make sure, because the whole agenda was ordinance. They're like, are we going to just be doing ordinance stuff now? And I was like, no, it's we're starting here, but everyone was receptive.
I think the meeting went well. Olivia got to hang out here with us, so that was a good time.
If you'll notice though, on number 11, council's request, you'll see committee updates as well as council's request for committees. So it'd be at this time where you could give us what you'd like to see on the next agenda for that committee.
Can we make sure on the EDA agenda that we get Mr. Palmer's request for a report?
of the financials.
Well, a report of the financials would be good, but what is gonna be, we need to address the operating procedures. We need to bring them in and advertise what their functions are, what resources are. They should be presenting at least once a year in a public meeting so that that goes on public record, in my opinion. Because that's a resources that people need. And then I think we also need to make sure that we have checks and balances in place. Because I don't know, if the rest of the EDA already kind of signed off or let go of the fact that certain signers can do things financially, I have concerns there. So I think I would like to review that. I'd like to have a little more council oversight on what's approved and what's not when it comes down to money. If they're gonna be a function of the city at least.
All right, any other committee updates or council requests?
I got one, or a couple, I guess. When's fire committee again? Fire district meeting?
We haven't set any dates for the year. We've got a survey out right now that, be responsible. Try to see if
What are your three? Because I've only seen two of them, and I think they both said like twice a year. What did?
I'm proud of the response.
Yes.
There was one that whatever the group is, one for twice a year and one per quarter.
Okay.
So I was gonna try to get that out again.
My
Personally, I
stance
think that we should have one at that. Like if we're gonna do something different, not to go to that. Put it at least something twice a year, but I would say one in the early spring and one in the fall during budget time.
Yeah.
The only budget recap and then right around when budget time.
The only reason I suggested quarterly was I didn't know if the fire district was having more updates. But it would be nice to see it go down to biannually.
Tom had a really good idea because that would open up the ability for us to go to their township meetings and actually be present for those as well.
Right. Probably appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would. What about the reason I bring up the meeting with Hinckley and the fire district? I've been going to most of those as the city rep. I won't be able to the next month and a half or so because my wife is having liver transplant.
I'll be trying
So,
to get those back up to
okay, so if I can get back up on those, I'd really appreciate it. I could be on, because most of my time is gonna be sitting there doing nothing. But I don't know if they have the communications to do and I'm not sure what Hinckley has, but if you can.
But yeah, I'll be at the next one. Or
Oh, okay, then that's all. I just want to make sure we had representation. I know Marcy goes and Tom usually goes, but they want usually a city council or a mayor there.
Perfect. Anything else? Right. Just a couple quick things. I did want to welcome our new student planner, who unfortunately just left before I could.
I kind of gave him like, I'm sorry.
That's okay. And then one other thing is I wanted to make a correction. Last council meeting, I stated that we had received $750,000 from the state and $750,000 from the federal government. That was a mistake. Marcy and I got our wires crossed a little bit. The only monies that we have received so far have been the $750,000 from the state. Will decide later this spring.
Yeah, May.
So,
We asked for 18 million and got 750,000.
14.
That's pretty good, since a lot of people aren't getting anything.
Yeah,
Well, I
that's
guess
true.
that's a good way to look at it.
all right. Council concerns, open meeting law training discussion for council staff.
I asked to have this put on, and I think and again, this is just my opinion, want to see what everybody else thinks, but at least for our big three committees, as I call them, HRA, EDA, and planning, and council and staff, with as much and as many changes that have been implemented in open meeting law, as difficult as open meeting law can be to understand, but I feel it would be a good investment in offering open meeting law, to perhaps even mandating open meeting law training to council, staff, and those three committees. To make sure that we're protecting the taxpayer, we're protecting ourselves, and not violating any communication laws or data practices laws or anything like that. It's really easy. It's a one hour course. It's at your speed. You pause it, restart it. But I just wanted to throw it out there to see what the rest of the body thought.
I think more training and public transparency is always a good thing, so I would be in support of it.
I agree. And open meeting law, especially with all the changes that have come out, is kind of a bear to wrap your arms around. So that's,
Yeah.
the more we understand, the more we can all know, the better.
I agree, especially with the ones with their own bylaws. I think this is really critical after what we saw.
Right. Well, and just even in some committees, I know there's 3 or 4 members that have side text bars or email, and do they realize that they're violating data practices by doing that, even though they're not elected officials? They're still subject to the law.
Just knowing what a conflict of interest truly is,
Right.
according to the state.
So would we need to take any action on that? Does there need to be a motion? Do we just,
I believe.
does that have to come back to the
wanted
next
to,
meeting?
I don't remember, but is it like $15 a person for this course?
We just need a motion to spend the money.
We make a motion off of commissioner's concern. I guess we haven't passed that one. Or does it need to be brought back to the next meeting to be on the agenda?
I guess I don't care either way we go. Personally, if it's only $15 and it adds value to the city, then we link. It's like, oh,
Yeah, I'll have plenty of time. That's why I'm saying I might as well do it now.
yeah, $50 I'm not really worried about. So I guess my thought would be just send me the link and go from there. But if you want a official council action to have the city pay for it, yes.
It could be something where I think all the bylaws address cost reimbursement for costs that are associated with their position. So they could take it, pay for it. That you're going to get a certificate of completion. I can give you a reimbursement form from the city, and we reimburse them for that.
I think to add to that though, and to Dan's point, it'd be nice if they had, it was not optional. So if they're gonna be on a committee and they choose not to take it, then they should not be eligible.
So if you aren't on those 3 committees, you don't have to do it. Is that what you're saying? Or,
I think you should do it for any.
well, I think all council members should do it.
I don't say yes, but I think to Dan's point, he's also talking about individual committee members.
Oh, okay.
And you have 3 big committees that get really drained depending on what you do really fast and bring up a lot of liability. So yeah, you're not an elected official, but you have a lot of responsibility on your shoulders. I think making that mandatory that they have to take that training would be beneficial. And if they don't want to take it and get reimbursed by the city, that tells me a lot about those individuals. Are they really the ones that I want on the committees?
And I just said those 3 because those are 3 that are governed by state statute. And another piece for this would, and again, just my opinion, but as we're building materials for new committee or commission members, this could be something that goes in there as part of the welcome packet. By the way, you need to take this before you start.
And these are the groups that do have resolutions where our department committees, they don't pass any type of resolution.
Right. Maybe not to dilute and go super crazy, but maybe something like our Parks and Rec and our the non-bylaw committees, maybe those, we could do like a train the trainer sort of a situation where either a council member or city staff could gather some notes, put together a nice little presentation, kind of go through.
Right, something simple, short and sweet.
Yeah. And I have no issue paying for it. We personally are through the city and not going to turn down a reimbursement stuff. But that's especially since we already get paid. But I would say it would be nice. It would be kind of nice if I'm thinking of like planning and HRA and EDA, where those members are not offered a stipend any longer, that if the city could either pay for it up front or I think pay for it up front would be best, but reimburse them for it too would be
Just my first.
If they submit a certification, it's pretty easy to have validation for that receipt. If you paid for it up front and then they decided to not do it, drop off the community, I mean, it's not a lot, but I guess you could take advantage of doing that.
And maybe the league has a bulk discount, right? Like if we're gonna send, say there's 7 in each committee, that's 21 plus 5 counselors, that's 26 plus city staff is 35.
Can it be done at a group session? Because if it could be done as a group session, basically like a slideshow, if you sign up for this, we could do it at the committee.
In the short term, would it be possible to submit one?
Yeah.
My benefit?
Yeah.
Why couldn't you just, for the council, why couldn't you just buy 5 of them and just send them to us? Send us the link.
Oh, sure.
I mean, why? I know he says we get paid, but I'm not sure exactly where that is, but
Maybe the vote. Take a vote here.
It's on the agenda and it doesn't say it's discussion only. So it does, you should be able to vote on this because it's not.
We lost Gina, but I would make the motion that we will reimburse $15 to anybody that's on council or an active committee member that provides the certificate for proof of completion.
Including our non-bylaw committees, just committees across the board, or
We just start, since we're working on formulating our committee department head meetings, could we just focus on the ones that have the bylaws?
I will start with the big 3 of the HRA, the EDA, and the planning, and we come back in 6 months to review whether or not we need to put it on the rest,
with the whole council,
the whole council. Correct.
And staff too.
That probably should have open meeting laws, I would think.
I feel like we could even do that as a group.
And pizza? We get pizza?
Yeah.
all right, we've got a motion from Kyle to proceed with reimbursement for the training for council, staff, bylaw committees at this point in time with a 6-month review.
6-month review to decide if we want to add other committees into that. So that'll come back in August.
All right, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Dan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, everybody's favorite part. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Second. Motion by Dave, second by Kyle. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Blood sugar's doing.
We got long.
I just hate it when it gets down to 90.